Ayo, LAZ, if you need professional pictures, if you need a photo shoot for a wedding, a birthday party, a baby shower, whatever you need, follow Life Through Galleries on Instagram. Get you a professional photographer, you heard? Tell them LAZ sent you. Ayo, they calling this book The Hood Game of Thrones, you heard? Cop it up on Amazon right now, The Blood Saga.
The cribs got views. The Jews, Dave Yerman, if they proved A vermin, they toupees turning. I'll be burning GP in that new GT, the Kufi Freeze.
Ayo, LAZ, holla at me if you want to collab on a song or you need some music promo. Send me an email at thegenpopllc@gmail.com. Ayo, shout out to the bro Cell. Shout out to the whole Bed-Stuy. Shout out to all them Rikers Island legends out there in New York City and beyond. You heard? You know the bro Cell always coming through dropping some heavy jewels, some heavy stories from the 80s. Ain't nothing like that 80s. That 80s be different. You heard? But yeah, man, Z-Man Suicide Polo with the Ski Man running around the hood like He-Man. You heard? If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get a notification every time I drop a new episode. You heard? Get at me if you need music promo.
Car and held us over the dude and asked him, was these the ones who shot you? So the dude, he has so much pain. It hit dead center in his leg. It like went straight through the middle of his leg. So I know it cracked his bone and all of that shit. Like he's in pain. And he's just like screaming. They got like a gas thing over his face. He's like, oh, he yelling and shit. And when they put me over top of him, the officer's like, it's just one of them. We're asking you, it's just one of them. Tell us real quick. We'll leave you alone. Warden Baines, he had just became the warden of the island, and he came there. Like when he came, I always looked at him as being fair, you know what I'm saying? Because he was hard, but he was hard on police just as he was on inmates. If you walking down the hallway, when we used to go to chow and shit, and he was in the hallway, he used to stand there with his head up, his hands behind his back, and he's looking in one direction. So you thinking you could be whispering or doing shit. That man had like a radar. I don't know how he used to do that, but he had like a radar on him. And he would be like, you, step out the line. And you'll come out there, he'd be like, what I do? And he was like, you know what you done. Go over to that nice CO over there and tell him to write you a charge for talking on the line. Like he didn't miss nothing. So he was there one day. Like the man got me to med one time. He came in the house one time and I was laying in the bed. I had been sick for like 2 or 3 days. I don't know what the hell was the matter with me, but I was sick, stomach messed up and everything. And the police wouldn't take me to medical. So he came in the house one time and saw me in the bed where he had everybody standing up. And he was like, why you in the bed? I was like, yo, I'm sick. If I stand up, I'm probably going to pass out. And he was like, what? What's the matter with you? I said, I don't know. I ain't been to medical. He was like, why you ain't been to medical when you sick but you can't even stand up? I was like, I let them know I've been sick and I've been telling them, but I just ain't get the medical. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, come here. He called the CEO. He said, come here. He was like, did this man tell you he was sick? And he was like, yeah, but we've been working. He was like, no, ain't no working on that. Get him to medical and I need to talk to you later. So they instantly got me together and took me to medical. So that's the type of person he was. You know what I'm saying? He'd bark on COs just as well as he would with inmates. But one day he was there and he barked on our whole house because our house was wild and like people couldn't even live in that joint. They come in there and get ran right back out. So he was barking on our whole house and like going up and down the line, just yelling at people and y'all gonna have to stop this and this and that, and this house is gonna be under control and this and that. But you know how the island is. You hear that shit, but you don't hear it. But anyway, that day he left the island. The next day the next day the police came in and they had like the little black banners around their badge, and you know that means an officer died. And we asked like what happened, and they told us. They was like, Warden Baines, he died yesterday. And we was like, how? And they was like, when he left out of here, right after he left from hollering at us, or you know, after he left the hollering at y'all, that he got in the car with a CO, a lady CO, and the lady CO had her child in the back, and they hit the highway, and they was driving on the highway, and it was an 18-wheeler she was coming up on an 18-wheeler. She tried to dip and go around the 18-wheeler, but when she switched lanes, it was a car there that she was about to run into the back of. And when she realized it was too late, she was going too fast to stop. So she tried to like slow down and not hit that lane, but she wound up running into the 18-wheeler and hitting the back of it. And it went under the 18-wheeler on his side, and that joint decapitated him. It was like his head was in the back seat with the little baby. Her daughter in the back seat, strapped into a car seat, saved her life because the car went up under the 18-wheeler. I told you, I was starting to tell you something before about Officer Gaylord. He used to be one of the officers in C-76. Anybody that bid it back then, they know Gaylord because he was wild. Like, it was a light-skinned officer that had like a fake leg, a wooden leg, and his family got killed by an inmate. Somebody went home and done his family dirty. So I don't even know why they still had him working on the island, because that man was terrible. He'll whoop a nigga ass quick, and he'll give you the opportunity to fight him. But he had the little boxing ring down there and all of that. But he was no joke with his hands, and he'll tear a nigga ass up. And you can tell he really didn't care too much for inmates. I remember that nigga threw the top of a desk at an inmate and missed him probably by an inch. But if he would have hit that dude, he probably would have killed him. You know them wooden desks that flip up and flip down, that you sit in a chair and you can flip the desk down?
Mm-hmm.
And you know how hard that joint is, one of them wooden things. He slung that joint at a dude because they was talking in the basement. When you walk through his basement going to school, we had to go through his basement to go to school. When you walk through his basement, you couldn't say nothing. If he caught you talking, and the people that knew, when you had some new dudes that came in there that didn't know, the people that knew, you see them quiet. If they catch a nigga talking, they would move away from him. Like, you would go on the other side because you knew he was going to pop out, and you didn't even want to get associated with being part of that conversation. Man, he came out there one day and he would pop up out of nowhere. The basement was dark. It had a lot of dark little corners and shit. He ain't really keep them lights on like he should have. It was probably like a few lights where you could see your way. But he'd pop up out of nowhere and like either he'll step you out that line and beat your ass when the rest of the house left, or he'll do something to you right then. And that day he stepped out, he had one of those desktops in his hand. And there was some dudes standing over there talking, and he slung that shit. And they just happened to see it coming at the right time, and the dude ducked. The one dude that ducked, that shit missed his head by like an inch. If that shit would have hit him, I had no doubt in my mind that thing would have probably killed him, because it hit that wall hard as hell. And he was like, you, step out the line. And he whooped their ass. Give him an opportunity to fight. But some people fought him back, but it didn't fare well for him because the man was a beast. Then they had C.O. Johnson. They used to call his house the House of the Lords. I never was in his house, but I heard so many stories about him. Like, you know, he was a Bible thumper, but he was a big black dude with a little afro. But he used to tear niggas' ass up in his house about, you know what I'm saying, any type of thing. You couldn't do nothing in his house. I remember there was a story that used to circulate about this gay dude that robbed somebody for some boxes, and he found out about it, and he caught the gay dude and made him get the boxes back, but he choked this nigga out like 3 or 4 times, kept choking him out, waking him up, choking him out, waking him up, choking him out, waking him up, and was like, we don't steal in this house. This is the house of the Lord. That's what they used to call his house, the House of the Lord. His name was C.O. Johnson. Anybody that bitted about that time, they'll tell you about him, Gaylord, and that incident with Warden Baines. I don't even think he was a warden for 2 months before he died. He had literally just took the island over. But that trip to the island was crazy. I was in there for a gun charge and a shooting. That was crazy as hell too. We was robbing a weed spot, and we climbed in through the bathroom window, and we had a fofo at that time. We climbed in through the window, and we climbed in through the bathroom window. Kicked there was like a board on the bathroom window, a wooden board. We kicked that off, climbed into the window, and was in the house, but it led right into the bathroom. The dude that was in there was holding the bathroom door closed, so every time we kicked it to try to get into the house, it would slam back shut. So we knew he was behind the door. So I was like, yo, let a shot off. scare this nigga to get him from behind the door. And I put my head out the window and put my fingers in my ears because I knew he was about to let a shot off. Right before he let the shot off, something said, "Look back." I looked back, and this dude got the gun pointed, like, probably at the nigga head. And we know the dude is behind the door. So I'm like, yo! And I reached back and I smacked his hand. As soon as I smacked his hand, the gun went off like, boom! That shit rung the shit out of my ears. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck is you doing? He was like, what? I said, yo, you know this nigga's behind the door and you aiming a gun at his head. I said, let a shot off. Like, why would you shoot? Like, you trying to kill this nigga. So all we hear was the nigga yell, like, ah! So I'm like, oh, man, hit this dude. So we kick the door open and go in the room. And there's nobody there. It's a curtain up to the other room. So I grab a chair and I throw the chair. We behind the bed, pointing the gun over there, throw the chair. It knocks the curtain down and we can see nobody is in that room. It's a kitchen area. So we don't see no blood in the apartment. And I'm like, damn, maybe you didn't hit this nigga. But we heard him yell when that gunshot went off. I'm like, maybe you didn't hit him, then that's good. So we don't see no blood in the apartment. But when we get into the other room, it's bags of herbs just sitting on the table, big ass bags of weed. So he grabbed like 2 of them and I grabbed like 2 of them. They filled up to the top. So we step out the door, we open the door to go step out. As soon as we open the front door to step out into the hallway, it's a big ass puddle of blood in front of the door. And I'm like, oh shit, hit this nigga. So the blood trail is leading all the way out the door. I was like, yo, we gotta get out of here. So we getting low and we step out the door to run. I run to the right, he runs to the left because we was right there on Franklin and Fulton. I was ready to run around there and jump up on the shuttle. You know how, I don't know if you remember this, but back in the day, used to be a truck in this little alleyway on Lefferts. You could jump on top of this truck, jump up on the platform and get on the shuttle without paying. I was about to do that. But when I turned that way, the dude is laying on the ground. He got a big ass hole in his leg and it's a puddle of blood coming out from the joint. And my man, another dude that I know, is sitting out there holding the dude. And he looked up and saw me and it was like a oh shit moment because he didn't know, all he see was a nigga shot and he trying to help him. And he looked up and see me and he was like, oh shit. So I just shook my head and turned around and ran the other way. When I went to running the other way, it's police coming up the block. And they're like, it's like foot police. They're running up the block. And he got the hammer on him. But now, from me about to go the other way, I'm a few steps behind this dude. So while he's running, I'm running behind him now. And we see the police coming. I'm like, damn. I'm like, yo, get that gun off me. So he takes the gun and slings it. And he throws it under a car. When it go under the car, it hits the car. And then it hit the ground and slid up under the car. So the people that's sitting in the car, I didn't know it was nobody sitting in the car until the gun hit the car and I saw him throw it and I turned and looked. When I turned and looked, it was a lady sitting in the car talking to a man. She heard the gun hit the car. The fact that I'm a few steps behind him, she turned and looked dead in my face. So in her mind, I tossed the gun. I took the herb off me and dropped them on the steps. It was like some steps right there. I dropped them on the steps and I keep running. The police grab us up and like, hey, hold on, where y'all going? I said, yo, we heard shots. We trying to get the hell out of here. We don't know what's going on. So they was like, hold on. So they held us right there. The lady gets out the car and she was like, officer, over here. So he was like, what happened? And she was like, he do something. And she pointed at me. And I'm like, oh, man. So the cop go over there, look under the car, get the gun. He pull a gun out, but you can tell he ain't know what he was doing because when he pulls the gun out, he grabs it with his hands. He don't like try to reserve fingerprints or nothing. He grabbed the shit with his hands and puts it down in his pants and he put handcuffs on us. And he was like, where did this come from? And she was like, he threw it. And she pointed at me. So I ain't say nothing because what I'ma say? So I'm just like shaking my head like, damn, I'm about to get a gun charge. So anyway, they handcuff us and throw us in the car. And they put him in one car and me in another car. And they have us out there for a little while. They go to the other dude, the ambulance come out there, they put the dude in the ambulance, they spin us around the block and bring us to the ambulance, and one by one they took us out the car and held us over the dude and asked him, was these the ones who shot you? So the dude, he is so much pain, like, I know that shit ripped his bone and everything because it hit dead center in his leg. It like went straight through the middle of his leg, so I know it cracked his bone and all of that shit. Like, he's in pain. And he's just like screaming. They got like a gas thing over his face. He's like, oh, he yelling and shit. And when they put me over top of him, the officer's like, it's just one of them. We're asking you, it's just one of them. Tell us real quick. We'll leave you alone. So the dude like looked through his clenched eyes and he looked at me and just shook his head like, yeah, and just go back to yelling and shit. So the officer dragged me out the thing, put me in the car. But the dude never seen our face, so it was no way for him to identify us. He was just in pain and trying to get them the fuck out his face so he can get help. But anyway, they threw us in the car, take us to the police station. But before they took us now, remember I told you, we took the herb off us and threw it on the steps. It's another dude standing out there, a young dude. And while they got me in the car, he's standing right there by where the herb is at. Right as of this point, the police don't even see the herb sitting over there on the steps. The dude is standing there and I'm looking at him and I'm like, oh, all right, he good. Because even though we hemmed up, he gonna take that herb, so they won't be able to put no like reason on what just took place, and that's another win for us. Man, this dude gonna say, "Hey, officer, over here." He calls them over there and gives them the herb. He had a free shot to all of them trees sitting there, and he calls them over there and tells them. They take that shit, so now they got a motive on what we was doing, why this dude got shot, and all of this shit that happened. So they take us to the police station and put us in separate rooms. They whooped us out. While they got him in the room whipping him out, I'm in the other room still handcuffed. And I hear them over there whipping him out. And I hear him telling them, nah, we ain't do nothing. It wasn't us. It wasn't us. It was another dude with us that shot. And I hear him telling him the dude ran down the side block, because it was a side block right there that we could have ran down, but it was the police already saw us running. He's trying to say it was a third dude that ran down that block. So I got the story from them whipping his ass, and when they came in there and whooped my ass, I stuck to the same story. I'm like, nah, it was another dude. It was another dude. He that's the one who it was that ran up there. You know what I'm saying? We was a part of it. We was robbing the spot, but it was another dude. Man, they ain't try to hear that shit. They beat the shit out of us. We wouldn't tell them nothing. So they was like, all right, y'all getting locked up. So they handcuffed us and took us downstairs. Now this is some crazy ass shit. When we went in the house, the dude had a leather coat in there. I took that leather coat too. So in the police station, I still got this leather coat. It was like a 3/4 leather coat that come right above your knees. So I got this coat on, and they take us. They was like, y'all getting locked up. Y'all don't want to say shit. We know it wasn't nobody else. Y'all getting locked up. We already know you threw the gun. You had the gun, so you ain't telling us it was somebody else that threw that gun, because we got a person pointed you out. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So they took us downstairs. When they taking us downstairs, it's a dread coming out of the pen that they get ready to put us in. It's a dude with long ass dreads and shit. He look at us and nod his head like he know us from somewhere. And I'm like, fuck is that about? We don't know this dude. So, you know what I'm saying? When they put us in the cell, it's a bunch of newspapers all over the floor. And I'm like, yo, let's grab, they got us handcuffed together. I was like, yo, let's grab these newspapers and get us something to get comfortable on, because they're going to probably have us here for a few hours before they take us to central booking. So he was like, bet. When we go to grab the newspapers and start like trying to set up a thing and we move them, why, it's a bunch of fucking bags of herb under the newspapers. And I'm like, oh shit. I mean, it's mad herb. It's like 20, 30 bags of herb under these newspapers. So I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like, nah, don't touch that shit. Don't touch that. They trying to set us up. That's our herb. Because ours was bagged up in plastic bags. I was like, they trying to set us up. Don't touch that shit. And he was like, nah, why would they do that? This and that, da-da-da-da. So I'm like, man, I don't trust that. And then we had to think. I said, wait a minute. Remember when they was bringing us in, dread was coming out. I said, he smiled and nodded at us. And I thought, like, why the fuck did he do that? But he knew they was taking us to the cell he was bringing him out of. I said, this was dread shit. I was like, yo, let's get this shit. So I cut a hole inside of that jacket that kind of, it was a small ass hole, but it I was able to put all of that herb in the line into that joint, and it was basically undetectable because we made it to Central Brooklyn, we made it through strip search, we made it to Rikers Island, and when we got to Rikers Island, we was basically waiting to go to our house. But the whole time we was in Central Brooklyn, I was pulling herb out and selling it. We getting cash from dudes that still have money. We getting cash from people selling herb. We was like, yeah, let's sell some of this shit and get our money up. So we don't sold some of the herb and shit, and now we don't made it through all of that. We on Rikers Island, ready to go to a house. I still got the jacket with the herb in it. We don't bench strip search and everything. We waiting for nothing now but to go to a house. One of the dudes that we sold herb to is in there with us, and he was like, yo, I'm about to blaze one of these shits. And I'm like, no, you fucking not. And he was like, yo, what you mean, no, I'm not? I'm about to blaze this shit. Ain't yours. I bought it already. I bought it. I said, my nigga, please do not do that. Because if they smell herb and they come in here, we're getting searched again. And they gonna fuck around and find this shit. Like, just wait till you get to your house, nigga. We almost there. We can get to your house. You can blaze how the fuck you want. I ain't got nothing to do with that. But do not blaze that shit in this pen. Man, this hard-head ass nigga lights up blunt, or lights up, he rolls up some shit and lights it in there anyway. Sure enough, they smell that shit. I forgot the officer name, but he was a well-known officer back then. Everybody that went through the island used to talk about this nigga name. I forgot his name, but he was like, what the fuck? He was like, I know I'm not smelling herb coming out the New Jack pen. Hell no. He was like, yo, give me them keys. Give me them keys. So he come over there. He was like, yo, who the fuck is in my cell smoking? So I'm sitting off to the back. I'm mad as hell because I already know what it is. And I was like, this shit probably ain't going to stand a second search. Now they going to be looking even extra hard because they know it's some shit with us. Man, he was like, you. He started pointing people out. The people that was at the front, they was, he pointed to the ones that sat in the back and pulled us out. And I was one of the dudes at the back. He pulled us out and said, come on, take us in there, research us, and find the herb. We get an ass whipping again. We got our ass whipped at the precinct. We get an ass whipping at the Rikers Island. And then they put us to a house and shit. And yeah, that's the shit that wound up getting me in the 6th building, because I wound up getting a bullet and 5 years probation for that shit. You know what I'm saying? And he wound up going home. He wound up, the dude that I was with that actually shot, that actually had the gun, he wound up going home. I think he got like, he got some bullshit. I know he was home before I even made it to the 6th building. Because as far as they know, he didn't shoot and he didn't throw nothing. He didn't have a gun on him, he didn't shoot, and they never found no herb on him. Only thing I wound up getting charged with was the gun and the shooting. But, you know, I got a bullet and 5 years probation out of that. I think that was like my second time in trouble. So, you know, I ain't really get lined up like I probably would have got years later with the charges I wound up having on my record. I ain't really had no record, so that's what came out of that. But yeah, that's the bid that I was doing when I told you that shit happened with Baines. And, you know, I went through that 6th building. The 6th building was crazy as hell, but, you know, Rikers Island was crazy as hell. But I was mad because, you know, we would have got rich on the island with all that damn herb. We could sell some old pen shit back then. I don't know how it is now, but you could sell a little pen joint and get a nice little bit of commissary. But we lost all of that shit because this nigga want to blaze some shit in the pen. And I ain't never catch his ass in the house, but I said if I catch him in the house, he got me an ass whipping. I was going to give it to him. But I got an ass whipping and lost all that herb behind that dumbass shit he done. But yeah, you'll find that story, man. I know that shit happened. Like I said, it was 80-something.
His name is now the boat, the jail. So anytime you search his name now, it comes up with the prison barge in the Bronx. You feel what I'm saying? So you gotta really search deep for that shit.
But
I found his picture though.
He died in a car accident though, right?
Yep, I found his picture. I'm about to send it to you right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that shit was wild. Like, I was bugging off of that because I'm like, damn, this man got me the medical. You know what I'm saying? He was alright. If you look at officers and, you know, you want to say or judge them on their characters or content, like, I felt like he was okay as far as a warden. Because like I said, he was rough on inmates, but he was the same way on police. And I was sick as a dog for days. And that man got me to the hospital within an hour of him being there. Yep, that's him.
Yeah, bro.
Yep. And he wasn't even a warden for that long. Yeah, just took that damn building over. The officers kind of hated his ass, but they all was rocking that black thing, that black tape over their badge. The very next day after he left them screaming on us. And I'm like, damn.
What you said he was screaming on y'all for again?
Because we was wilding in that house. Like, it was a bunch of shit going on in there where people couldn't really come in that house and live. And I said in the comments, you know, we used to have boot camp. You ever heard of boot camp?
Doing what?
At nighttime when the lights go out, the state boots just start slinging around the dorm. Niggas be throwing them boots hard as hell. Yeah, that shit was wild. You get hit in the head with one of them damn boots, it was lights out. You had a good night's sleep after that. But, you know, we was young as hell, so that shit was to us like little wreck, have fun. And everybody was involved with that. It wasn't no hard feelings and shit. Niggas used to just sling them boots. And we used to call that shit boot camp. But, you know, anybody could get hit with them motherfuckers. It wasn't no, I'm the livest nigga in the house, don't throw that in my direction. Shit. Boot camp was everybody involved. You just better have you a boot, catch one of them shits that hit the bunk next to you and sling that bitch back. Hell yeah, that house was wild as hell. And then they used to do like dumb shit. I remember they used to wrap niggas dead in toilet tissue while they was asleep and set that bitch on fire. So you wake up, you ain't gonna get burned because it's toilet tissue. It's gonna kind of burn right out as soon as you break it. But imagine waking up to your whole bed wrapped in toilet tissue and on fire. That shit scares the shit out of a motherfucker waking up.
Yeah, niggas used to do that shit. Niggas done died from fucking with that shit on Rikers Island.
Yeah.
Setting niggas on fire, playing games and shit like that.
That shit was crazy, man. The island was wild as a bitch.
The mother.
Hey yo, LAZ, if you need professional pictures, if you need a photo shoot for a wedding, a birthday party, a baby shower, whatever you need, follow Life Through Galleries on Instagram. Get you a professional photographer, you heard? Tell them LAZ sent you. Hey yo, they calling this book The Hood Game of Thrones, you heard? Cop it up on Amazon right now, The Blood Saga.
The cribs got views. The Jews, Dave Yerman, if they proved A vermin, they toupees turning. I'll be burning GP in that new GT, the Kufi Freeze.
Hey yo, LAZ, holla at me if you want to collab on a song or you need some music promo. Send me an email at thegenpopllc@gmail.com.
Limit, I'm the pilot, come fly with me. And when I touch down, I move around like it's 9 to me. To be or not to be, that is a question. What's understood need not be said.
Don't say nothing. They say radio ain't gon' play that. Now you hear me on the radio across the map. The world is New York now. Ain't nobody eating pork now.
Hey yo, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell so you get a notification every time I drop a new episode. Z-Lord, I run these YouTube streets. Get at me.